Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. You don't know my name's Chad. Take a dive. We're on sports. This is in the cusp of the completion of college bowl season. You got one more bowl game left. We are who's in the national championship game. This is kind of like another video of a possible playoff scenario. Now, I've already done one where I expanded it to 12, which is what I think the committee is gearing towards. You know, this give you the 6 best conference champions and then 6 at-large bids. And then go from there. I think just kind of going to work out the kinks of where these games are going to be played. Some of the bowl games are going to, going, hey, take some teams away from us, this is going to work. So I think they're still trying to work out those kinks in that one and kind of figure out how the best way to go about this. And in my opinion, there's too many bowl games anyways. I remember the time frame where the bowls were you had to be, almost the best of the best before you got a bowl game, and that's what really it should have been. But then you always get teams that did really, really well, but still get left out because the conference only had one bid. So bowl games are getting added year in, year out. And now it's just there's too many. I get that aspect, getting new cities, more tourists, and the whole. I get the money side of things. I get it for allowing some of the smaller schools a chance to get a bowl, because in earlier days it couldn't because nobody wanted to go see Ohio take on not Boise State, but Wyoming in a bowl game. So I understand that aspect of adding those games, going to give those conferences and those schools a chance to showcase their talents. Sometimes give their seniors and their game film to use to kind of help them promote themselves in the upcoming draft. But I think it's gone to the fact that you started to match the bowl with the number of teams that are 6-6 or better. This year they allowed Hawaii, who was 6-7, so technically a losing team, get a bowl game because it got 6 wins. Because other teams had to pull out, you end up getting a 5-7 team get into a major bowl. That's because that happened before the rest of the games started getting canceled, and you don't create move teams around to create another. I mean, it's a whole mess in this whole situation right now. What the world is unique aspect of itself. So, with that being said, I decided to utilize the FCS Style Playoff, which is a 24-school select a playoff grid. So you have your first round, and then you have the 8 first-round byes. Of course, I'm using the current college football playoff rankings to kind of rank everyone. In this scenario, all conference champions are in. So it gives you 10 automatic in, which means every conference has a chance. And same thing with March Madness. We love those Cinderella stories. Well, those Cinderella schools, just upsetting everyone's bracket. It's everyone's goal to try to pick the right ones. But 9 times out of 10, I do not. And then it gives you 14 at large. Now, when I came up with this, there's some schools in here that are questionable. But the most losses by any school is 4. And the worst at-large team was 9-3. So not that bad, really. It could be a lot. It could have been worse. Yeah. Could have been better. Definitely. But, you got some definitely interesting teams in there. So now, it pretty much means the top 20 of the college football playoff rankings all got in. So you can't say they're not talented enough or not really qualified. They had great seasons. Clemson is one of these schools that started off rough in the early part of the season and just came on strong. It's definitely a team to kind of watch out for. UTSA had that magical run. Louisiana doing what they did, repeating the process they did last year, this year. So, you definitely have some of those. And there was a few schools probably on the cusp that probably it's been considered, like San Diego State, the 11-1 season. Coastal was another one that had a decent season. App State, schools like that I kind of get. Maybe even Army, being a Commander Chiefs Trophy winner. But, it is what it is. And basically what I'm doing with these schools is there's no campus sites, unlike the FCS. That's what they do, because they don't have bowls. So for Celebration Bowl, but that's something completely different. I utilize the bowl games to fill in the first round, second round, quarters, and semis. Of course, the semifinals is exactly what you normally associate with, your playoff bowl games right now in the college football playoff system. So those rotate. Your 6 games, and then the second round, it's in big time cities, and then your first round is your last ones. And normally I put the first round between that first weekend of bowl season, so December 16th to 18th. So it gives you really 2 weeks after the conference championship games to kind of fill out. And on top of that, I also kept 16 bowl games for everyone else. Because, there's going to be teams out there that have good records. They're 8-4, 7-5. Maybe some of those that got double-digit wins. They won't rank very high because they're, like I said, San Diego State wasn't in this, and they had a decent run this year. Still ranked, but didn't get into the playoffs. So still created those bowl games, and those bowls actually ran. Actually, I came up with a time frame. I think it was like the 28th. Or 27th all the way to January 1st, where these bowls all went off through. So the typical bowls. So yeah, I did get rid of a lot. Like I said, I felt there was like way too many of them. In a lot of areas had multiple bowl games. Frisco, Texas had 2 bowl games within less than a week apart. So, I got rid of both of those. Did not go out to the Bahamas. The Fenway Bowl, which hasn't really played yet. Just got rid of that one. Combine a couple. So you'll find out which ones I'm talking about here. Create some new ones. Just kind of go to a different location. Try to steer away from baseball fields as much as possible. Soccer stadiums. I kind of went to traditional football stadiums. Try to look at NFL sites mainly, especially if you're looking at second round and higher. Make sure at least there's NFL caliber stadiums, and your first round are very good large stadiums to play in. So I'll kind of throw up there the bowl games I came up with, and kind of do a quick rundown. So still have the Camellia Bowl, will feature, be the game for a Sun Belt team to host. Georgia State and Central Michigan. The Idaho Bowl will be Boise State taking on Washington State. The New Orleans will get Arkansas, Kansas State, Hawaii, San Diego State, Arizona State, Mobile, or Living Tree Bowl is known as App State taking on Kent. Myrtle Beach, Coastal taking on UTEP. Boca Raton, Western Kentucky against Kentucky. The Cure Bowl will be UCF taking on Miami. Armed Forces is Iowa State taking on Air Force. Military, East Carolina taking on Army. Then New Mexico gets Fresno State and Oregon State. First Responders, SMU, Penn State. Magic City created a new bowl game at their Sydney Birmingham to play at the UAB Stadium. And of course, be host UAB taking on Purdue. The Arizona Bowl, UCLA and Texas A&M. Pinstripe beat Wisconsin taking on Tennessee. And then Dallas Bowl, put one actually in the Cotton Bowl itself, back in the Cotton Bowl, be Minnesota taking on Mississippi State. It kind of gives them some aspect of kind of, you still make the the bowls relevant. You still give a lot of these other programs a chance to showcase their games. Will a lot of people tune into them? Probably not, but it gives these schools something to kind of compete for. Now, for the extended playoff format. So this was going to be a little unique because I actually had to really think about the matchups and how I want to do this. So for the 24 team setup, the top 8 schools will get first round bye. Doesn't matter if you're a conference champion or not. It's the top 8. So that would make it Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Baylor, and Ole Miss. But then it's kind of determined, okay, how am I going to do this first round? So just pretty much went on, okay, so 8 would get 9, 7 would get 10. They kind of went from there and just rearranged things. With this, we'll start off with the Independence Bowl, and the winner of this will have to take on Alabama. This is where I gave number 17 Wake Forest, get number 16 Oklahoma. Who knows when to see that matchup? That should be a really good matchup between those two programs. And the next one I have to go take on Alabama. And then in the Birmingham Bowl, I had number 15 Iowa taking on number 18 NC State. Winner of which we have to go to Music City to take on Michigan. And we could possibly get a Big Ten championship game rematch pretty early. And then we go to the Sun Bowl, where you had number 14 Oregon hosting number 19 Clemson. This looks like a really good matchup between these two programs, and then they have to, winner of that will go to Charlotte, take on Georgia. Then out there in Tempe, yes, I'll move the Guaranteed Rate Bowl from Chase Field to Tempe, the Sun Devil Stadium. You'll get number 13 BYU taking on number 20 Houston. The winner have to go to Detroit, take on Cincinnati. So you get an American championship game rematch possibly. Then you got number 21st seeded Louisiana taking on number 12 Pitt in the Citrus Bowl, winner of which have to go out to LA to take on the Irish. Now the Cajuns and the Panthers right there look pretty intense, and see who's going to win that one. And then out there in the Holiday Bowl, you'll get UTSA will take on number 11 Utah, winner of which have to go out to Jacksonville, take on Ohio State. Liberty Bowl will feature Utah State taking on number 10 Michigan State. The winner of that to go to Vegas, take on Baylor. And then in the Alamo Bowl, you have the MAC champion Northern Illinois taking on number 9 Oklahoma State to find out who will take on Ole Miss. So if you kind of look at these quick little scenarios, Sugar Bowl, you can have Bedlam Part 2. Doubt that one. You can also have Alabama and Ole Miss rematching. Music City, you can have a Big Ten rematch, Big Ten championship game rematch. You can also have in Rose Bowl a Michigan rematch between Michigan and Michigan State. Out there, possibly in the Quick Lane Bowl with Cincinnati, could have a American championship game rematch between Cincinnati and Houston. The Fiesta Bowl, Notre Dame, Cincinnati could rematch. So there's a lot of different aspects. Of course, all coaches would not leave these schools. They will have to stay with the coach if they're going somewhere else. Like Kelly wouldn't be gone. I mean, so he wouldn't be going off to LSU. So he'll stay there with the Irish. No players will be opting out. So then you get Pickett won't be starting for Pittsburgh against the Cajuns, and then you'll see Walker running in the backfield for Michigan State in the Liberty Bowl. So there'll be no players opting out because they're in the playoffs. They're, you win the bowl game, you move on. The whole aspect. Does it increase the season? Definitely. I mean, I get that one because the championship game is going to be January 15th. It's more games. The opponents will say we'll dilute the regular season. No, it's not going to dilute it because It just adds another level to it. Let you know, okay, I can have a bad game or two and still be all right. I think what dilutes college football now is the amount of games, bowl games afterwards. What dilutes it is the lack of playoff abilities for a lot of these programs. We finally saw Cincinnati at a group of 5 finally get into the playoff, and just wasn't enough to win their matchup. And then you see, 2 big powerhouses go at it, and it was just a one-sided affair. So you're gonna get that in these bowl games in the postseason. You're gonna get them in the bowl games. It happens as part of the sport, and that's why they let people. I was like, well, we don't want this game, these type of games to happen all the time. They won't happen all the time. It's kind of a one-off type of thing, and well, let me backtrack on that one. It's not really a one-off type of thing. It's the type of thing that could happen because it's just football. It's just how one team just shows up and they ate their Wheaties and had their Flintstone vitamins and they were off and running. The other team just woke up on the other side of the bed and just couldn't do their normal routine or something. I mean, it's as simple as that. And this format actually put the most double win teams with a chance to win a championship. That's what you want. You want to be able to reward schools for winning their conference first. I mean, now especially all these conferences are getting up there. Now, later on, once Conference USA gets decimated and all the schools leave, and then they add the other programs, Conference USA's AQ status could be a question because of the amount of schools they have. And it all depends on how they kind of win. Unless you kind of go, okay, the minimum requirement to get considered to be the playoff is 9 wins. Then I can kind of see that aspect where if you don't get at least 9 wins, regardless if you're conference champion or not, you're not in. Which would kind of defeats the purpose of it, AQ. But I can see something like that happens, so that we avoid like a 6-6 or 7-6 school or 6-7 school winning the conference, and really kind of throwing the monkey wrench in the whole works. So I'll kind of can see that aspect. This scenario, this really incorporates the best of the bowls. Gives the bowls something to look forward to, and they get a big time matchup. That means, especially if you're one of these playoff bowls, you get all the fans going in there, filling stadiums, because these are, the big time stadiums that people come to. The other bowl games are kind of more for your smaller schools, maybe a few other, the big boys getting some bowl games in there. They quite make it to the playoffs. If teams have to pull out, you have a pool of available schools you can tap into without going below 500 for schools. So, sorry, Rutgers, you wouldn't get into the system at all. You wouldn't be considered with the amount of 6-6 schools that weren't added. 21 6-6 schools that they didn't get a bowl bid. 3 others that were above them with winning records. So, there's 24 schools, and then you throw in Miami, or not Miami, but Hawaii, there's 25 before you even get to Rutgers at 26. So pretty much everyone just had to, not play. Now, I see the downside of this one completely. Like I said, it increases the number of games, but nothing would compare for the seniors leaving these programs, going to the NFL, where to play more games. Will it affect academics? Possibly. Because that's what FCS has their playoff system way it is, where it kind of allows them to kind of have a chance to have that break. Then they start earlier with their playoffs. Then they have their break between the championship game, kind of allow for the academics portion. So academic-wise, I can see, yes, it's put a strain more on the players than it really should. But it's something that they'll have to work out with individual schools, individual instructors. They kind of find out a way to best suit both sides of this to make sure the players actually, get those passing grades and make themselves eligible to play in these games. and then allows for those players to stay where they're at. Does it increase the risk of injuries? Yeah. I mean, just like Matt Carroll for Ole Miss, who twisted his ankle against Baylor in their bowl game. So it does it happen? Of course. It's football. It's one of these sports that, anything can really happen. But it's also one of these things you really want. But I think if you go more than this, I think that's when you really start to dilute everything. You pretty much take the bowl games out completely, and you make it a playoff game with just individual sites. But, that's just my take. I mean, this is just like I said, thought experiment. I mean, I get it that this is not going to be very popular at all. Not a lot of people don't like this, especially how kind of this is set up. You could probably do a scenario where you try to make sure that schools don't have the rematch abilities, in that first 2 rounds. So like the possibility of Iowa and Michigan going at it pretty quick. Maybe you can move Iowa and Oklahoma around to kind of avoid that one. And you look at the rest of and move like Houston and Clemson possibly. Or Houston, Louisiana. I mean, so that way, since they in Houston don't have a possibility of facing off in the second round. So there's a few tweaks you could probably make to this setup to probably promote the best possible scenario and outcome. Do you have a possibility of an all SEC championship game? Of course. You probably have a possibility of an SEC Final Four. But that's just how everything plays out. And I think with this scenario, this will kind of give when you have your AQs, it means all your Power 5 schools are in. Group of 5 will be happy because all their conference champions are in. Your top 8 with the first round bye makes everyone happy. So you don't have to be conference champion and get that first round bye like you would in the 12-team format. But it definitely is a lot of strain, a lot of money have to be spent by these schools to make these moves between cities. To put a financial strain on a lot of these budgets, yes, but this is something that the conference could kick in because they get a lot of money with those TV contracts. And then I think those payout for the bowl games can help offset. So there's possibilities that could schools go into the red with this, yes. But I think with the whole TV contract, the playoff contract, this should help alleviate a lot of these issues and make sure these teams are covered these costs with those financial incentives. It's just just a fun idea to kind of think of. Would this possibly happen? Definitely lean to a more 100% no than that it would. But it's just one of those scenarios, and just let me know what you think. Do you think this thing is possible? Like I said, I'm leaning no, but it's definitely a fun thought experiment to kind of look at and play out and whatnot. How would you do this if the FBS decided to implement the same process as the FCS? Just let me know in the comments below. I want you there. You hit that thumbs up for me. Give me a like. Please, you two guys, help promote this channel. You also subscribe. I've checked my analytics. Not many of you subscribe. A lot of you view my work, and I love you all for doing that. But it doesn't cost you a dime to subscribe, and let you know next time I post a video. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.